What's up guys, Magnus here. Today's video I'm going to dive in and tell you my story about how I ended up working in two African countries where I didn't know anyone, but also how that experience shaped me into actually doing business in Africa after that. So let's go. So growing up black in Belgium, I was led to believe that the only way to become successful is to whether become a professional athlete, rap, become a drug dealer, or in case of my African household, become a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. Really, there was zero guidance towards entrepreneurship or starting your own business, especially in the African community. Thank God it's a lot different now, as there's a lot more role models to actually look up to. But sadly for me, that wasn't the case. I ended up choosing the athlete option. I fell in love with basketball. Basketball was my life. I used to eat, sleep, dream basketball, but I never really had a chance to live up to my potential, as around I think 16, 17, I injured my both knees back to back, and that really influenced my ability to perform in a big way. That was the first time I had to be honest with myself. As much as I loved the game of basketball, I had to reassess my life and kind of shift my focus. And in that time, I decided to shift my focus back to school as I was preparing to graduate. So one big lesson here is just don't be afraid to change courses. I think the sooner you make that decision, the better it is for yourself. Then when I graduated, I came at another big crossroad, like what am I going to do? Am I going to go to uni or am I going to enter the workforce? Around that time, I really became interested in entrepreneurship. So in my mind, my plan was, okay, I'm not gonna pursue university. I'm gonna get a job, work for a year or two, and then basically during that period, learn the skills that I need for whatever business I want to set up. And after that, just invest all the money that I've saved over the 2 years, put them in my business and just go. Sadly, my parents felt a different type of way. They told me son, you're still young. I was 18 at the time. You can go to uni, do your 3 years bachelor's program, graduate, you'll be 21. You'll still have the world in front of you. So I kind of followed my parents' advice. I'm not gonna lie, under pressure, because my gut feeling was not feeling it at all. So I ended up spending 5 years in university, 3 different schools, and I never made it past my first year. Can you imagine? So after year 5, I figured this is not working out for me. Let me just focus on the things I really want to do myself. And that became digital media. I fell in love with photography, videography, journalism, just writing, because at the time, together with my best friend, we started our little production company. And we just kind of went about it. We used to wing a lot of things. And again, we weren't perfect, but that was okay. We were doing it and we were learning as we were going through the process. Thanks to that whole experience, I ended up getting into a digital storytelling program in Ghent through the Rec Academy. Now it's called Chase Academy, but they were the first actually to have a very non-traditional way of teaching, as the teachers were all about that life, if I want to put it that way. So what happened is they were all professional. Let's say there was a course about storytelling in film. This director would come who had his own production company. So he would share his tips and tricks, his experiences, and through that you would learn, and then the next day you would implement the things he was teaching to you. And that concept of teaching, I kind of fell in love with it. I got exposed to so many different things, from journalism, photography, videography, the skills that I already loved. But then also to be able to travel to London, visit the Google headquarters, the YouTube studios, to be exposed to that environment, that to me really changed my view on everything and made me realize okay, this is kind of the course I want to focus on. Shout out Rec Academy or Chase Academy right now. Y'all changed my life. I'll put a link below. So if you're interested in the course and you live in Belgium, of course, please don't hesitate to go to the website and check it out. After the program, it's where my professional journey actually started, in my opinion, because I got hired for my dream job at one of the biggest radio stations in Belgium. What for me really was like a dream come true. Even till this day, if I look at all my jobs, till this day, it's one of my favorite ones. We had to work very hard, but we were also able to have a lot of fun. But as you know, all good things come to an end. And after 2 years, I kind of felt like I reached my ceiling. So the question for me then was, okay, what's next? And I had all these media experience. I figured, let me stay in that lane. But the thing that was kind of itching in me was, okay, Africa. At that time, I think I was 25, 24, but I was so curious. I'd never been to Africa. So I was like, okay, I really want to go. But how can I? Because it was a whole thing with my parents being like, no, if you go to Congo, we got to go with you. You can't really go by yourself because there's a lot of family you need to meet, a lot of things you need to explain. So I was like, okay, Congo's off the table, but let me find a way to just go there earlier. And I felt like work was a perfect way to kind of find a little cheat code around that. So then my question was, okay, let me find a media company in Africa that I would love to work for, that also inspires me, and where I felt like I could learn as many things as possible. So yeah, with that in head, I figured, okay, let me start. There wasn't a lot of resources available online. I ended up in Tanzania. So I found this company online and I go on LinkedIn and I try to look for the CEO. I found the CEO, but I'm like, okay, LinkedIn. By the time he accepts my request, we might be a month later. I really want to go this year because I knew my contract at the radio station was going to end in December. So I figured before it ends, I need to have a plan B because I'm not just going to quit for the sake of quitting. So I need a way to get his personal contacts. And funny thing, one of my great friends is he's Tanzanian Zambian, but his mom lives in Tanzania. So I just sent him a screenshot of like the CEO's profile, like talking to him like, yo bro, I need to get into this media company in Tanzania. I found the CEO online, but I have no clue how to reach him because I don't feel comfortable just sending him a random message on LinkedIn. I need his personal contact. And literally my man Criticus, shout out Criticus, he tells me first like, yo bro, my mom knows him personally. Like Criticus is an artist and he was supposed to meet up with him when he was in Kenya or Tanzania, I don't remember. So literally within minutes, I got a screenshot of his personal business card, phone number, email address, whatever I needed was on there. So honestly, in that moment, I don't know who of y'all believes in God or, a bigger entity, but yo, that moment when I got those contacts was God telling me, whatever you want is yours. You just gotta put your intentions in the right place. And I'm telling you that the universe is gonna contemplate to help you get to whatever you want to get towards. So I got his contact, I sent him an email, and Critical's telling me like, okay, make sure that the title of your email kind of pops out. And I was like, yeah, you're right, good point. So it made me thinking. I was like, now that I have his email, I would be a fool for him not to open it. So I wasn't willing to take any risks on that. I felt like, F it, I'm gonna go as bold as I can with the title. So I remember putting the title, Greatest Business Opportunity Ever. And within the email, I just told him who I was. My name is Magnus. I live in Belgium. I got experience in media, radio and such. And I'm just willing to learn. I wasn't even looking for an actual job. If I could just shadow the CEO or, the managers in the company and just learn by following you guys, I would be happy. I could consult you guys because I do have an expertise, but my thing was I'm just there to learn, soak up as much as I can and kind of go from there. So I sent that email out and it was kind of time to wait on the answer. I thought like, okay, he's a CEO. He gets a lot of emails. I might only get a response like maybe next week. Funny enough, a couple hours later, I got an email back, like brief and short, but it's like, send me your CV, I'm interested. When I'm telling you, the feeling that I had when I saw the response in my inbox after just a couple hours, again, back to God, spirituality, that's just me. I was like, wow, it's done. Like, God is not playing. He wants me to have this because what else is he trying to tell me right now? So I went all in, sent it to him. The next day, I got an email back from his right-hand man who then tells me, are you free for a call today? Got your CV from Joseph. I'm very interested in your profile. Let's get to know each other and let's kind of see where the match is. So yeah, he ends up calling me up. We talk. He sent me like an overview of the company, like what they do. And he also told me like, okay, look at it and tell us in what aspects you would like to help us further or where you would love to learn. So I went through the whole file, sent him an email back. Up until that time, I never really met anyone physically at the company. So at one point, I remember Omari had to be in, I think, Kenya or Tanzania, but he had a layover in Amsterdam. And he told me like, hey, if you want to meet face to face, just to kind of, put a face on everything and also to know for myself that, this is real, it's not a scam. He's like, if you can meet me up, I got a couple hours, we can chop it up, get to know each other, this and that. I was like, I bet. Like, I wanted this. So at this point, there was no doubting me that I wanted to do this. So I remember I had to work that day. I took a train to Amsterdam from Brussels at like 5 a.m, like one of the first trains. Got there at like 6, met up with him, maybe half an hour. We had a good solid talk. Still even have a picture about it. Make sure I put it. Yeah, we met up, we talked. I got to know him as a person. After that, I took the train back, went straight to work. When I'm telling you, I was high on life, yo. Because for me, that kind of put into perspective that you get opportunities in life and it's really what you make of it. And I was not gonna let the ball drop. I just was not. So yeah, we talked everything through. They decided to fly me over to Tanzania and kind of just take care of everything, like accommodation, transportation. I had to resign from the radio, which was a bittersweet experience. But at the other hand, I kind of knew what was waiting for me, and I also had more clarity about what was about to happen after the radio journey. And I remember a week before I was supposed to travel to Tanzania, I got a text. So Omari texted me saying like, hey brother, can you call me back? I need to tell you something. There's a change of plans. So in my heart, I'm thinking like, shish, they won't be able to host me anymore, or there's nothing for me when I get to Tanzania. So I call him and Omari tells me like, hey, something came up. We're working on this deal. I know I promised you that, we would spend time in Dar es Salaam for 2 weeks, but we gotta fly to Kigali, Rwanda. So I'm thinking like, wow, I thought I only was going to one African country. You telling me I'm ending up going to 2 countries. I'm not complaining, my brother. Like, I'm not complaining, catching extra miles on top of that. So I got even more excited. When you think God is like through blessing you, he adds you another layer, like double. So I had to prepare myself to go to 2 countries. I remember getting to Dar es Salaam, the airport. Literally, I get out of the airplane. As soon as my feet touch the soil, no lie, my DNA changed. It's like a puzzle. Everything clicked. Like, oh, you're home again. My metabolism, my spirit, like everything in me just changed instantly. They were waiting for me. They drove me to the hotel, see a little bit of the city, soak up some culture, the food. Then we went to Rwanda, which for me was like, whew, there's a lot of history, especially Congo, Rwanda, but Rwanda itself has a lot of history, like the pain they went through. But to kind of see it with your own eyes, it's kind of like you see the beauty and you also feel the pain, but it was beautiful. And arriving in Rwanda was such an emotional moment. I remember I have a video that I recorded on my phone when I woke up the first night. Even just me arriving in the hotel, the little moments, I was kind of able to capture it all for myself. But waking up the next morning and actually seeing the view was for me insane. Even till this day, I don't have the words for it, but there was such a surreal moment waking up and just overwhelmed with emotions. Like, I can't really explain it any deeper than this. It's like overwhelmed with emotions. I mean, just to give you a little context why we were in Rwanda in the first place. So we were working on, we had a deal with the Got Talent franchise, so East Africa Got Talent. And Clouds TV had the rights to organize the whole thing in East Africa. So we got there on Monday, but we had to make sure that the deal was kind of finalized on Friday, because on Friday we had to fly back. So there was a time clock, there was a lot of pressure. I was able to learn from Omari and from Lee, who is responsible for Clouds TV Rwanda, like a country manager. And Omari kind of being like sales, marketing, like that guy, Omari, if you see this, you know yourself, man. Omari's a beast. Like both of these guys, Lee as well, like the knowledge I was able to soak up from these two, because we were on the road together basically the whole time. Especially their journey in doing business in Africa, working in Africa, the way the continent was 10 years ago to the way it is now. They really took a big brother role as far as introducing me to the continent in the best way possible. And the reality is there is a lot of poverty, but that's not the only thing that's there. There's a lot of beauty, there's a lot of richness, there's a lot of wealth. As much as you can talk about the bad, you got to talk about the good as well. And that's something that I try to keep in mind. But one of the big lessons that I've learned from Lee and Omari during that particular period was impact. I mean, it's not a secret. Corruption is a problem all over the world, but I feel like the way Africa's been struggling with it, it's a different thing. But there is this wave of business people or professionals that are just all about positive impact. The way these two guys impacted me, that's why I'm like the guy that I am today. That's why I developed the love for Africa that I have today. It's just because of certain values they instilled in me. And they didn't only tell me about it, they were acting in accordance to that. So the way these men moved, the kindness towards everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, whether you're the doorman or, working in the kitchen, or the CEO, top manager of a company, or, the cab driver. Like, everyone gets treated with that same excellence. Omari used to tell me, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So yeah, Tanzania, Rwanda, Mr. Kusaga, Omari, Lee, like these three guys, I'm grateful for the opportunity, the blessing, the time that we were able to spend together, because all of that really shaped me in a major way. And I'm really planning on giving it back. And till this day, the three of you, y'all carry a special place in my heart. So after that experience, I had the opportunity to go back to Africa like 2 to 3 times a year. And that's when the entrepreneurship bug inspired me even more. Because then I just figured like, nah, this is where I want to be. This is where I want my future to be. So I started contemplating ways to be an added value to the continent. And that's how I ended up in the business ventures that I'm doing today. So my mission for the next decade is to help create as much jobs as possible. I know that I won't be able to do it all by myself. So whether it's putting someone in a position to create jobs or create them myself by starting my own companies, it doesn't matter. I just want to be a part of a wave of job creation and opportunities. I just want more people to go from poverty to middle class. I want that gap to become smaller. The youth is going to play a very big role in the continent's development, and educating the youth is also a very big part of that. So the businesses I'm now indulging is, marketing consultancy. I'm doing that all over the world, so also here in Belgium, but in Africa as well. I just like to help businesses grow, especially digitally. Then right now it's also the Gali Circle. We're focusing on organizing networking events for professionals, entrepreneurs, and business owners, just to kind of bring them together, let them grow their network, but also help them. We also try to form a bridge in between that. So whether you have your local business and you try to export your goods to, let's say, Europe, we could help you and become the link in that. Whether you want to export it domestically within Africa, we can become the link for that. Then there's Afripreneurial. Afripreneurial is really the community that we're trying to build of entrepreneurs in Africa, but also Africans all over the world who are doing business. I felt like there's not a strong network that brings them all together, so we want to build that network and also educate them. So it's not only about bringing them together, but also educating them. We're very big on education, and that's why we feel like through educating people with entrepreneurial skills, not only do they have a job for themselves, but are they also able to provide jobs to others? And hopefully we can keep that ball rolling and not only create as much jobs as possible, but teach people how to create as many jobs as possible. So we hope with that model that we'll be able to play an active role in a positive change or having a positive impact. Because that for us is the end goal, just to have a positive impact. The more jobs you can create, the better. Hopefully we're able to accomplish that mission for the next decade. If there's any topics you want me to deep dive in, please don't hesitate. Send me a DM, put it in the comments. I'm ready to take everything into consideration. It's a community and, we learn together. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, feel free to do so. You know the vibes. Greatness only. Peace.